Why hello there, and welcome back to Character, the Making. In previous episodes, we Let's Made Us a Character for Vampire the Masquerade, but then skipped all the way to Changeling the Dreaming, overlooking several important entries in the World of Darkness series. So in this episode, we will continue overlooking those important entries and make us a character for a World of Darkness mummy, which came out in 1992, actually a bit before Werewolf the Apocalypse, so even before the World of Darkness had the werewolves, they had the mummies. That was odd. Anyway, this is actually a supplement for Vampire the Masquerade, not a full game, so it doesn't include the core rules and some other stuff which I will mention when it comes up. But also, there is a lot of stuff that was added. So let's make us a World of Darkness mummy character. As in Vampire, character creation is a 5-step process starting with concept, and let's make this character like a shady spiritualist from the 1930s, but one who has actual powers. That sounds fun. Next we have names, and Mummy puts a lot of importance on names, to the point that a character has a current name, which is how they are known by mortals, a known name, which is how they are known by other mummies. There it is again. Weird. And a true name, which is the secret name, which is an integral part of the character's being. So let's say that our current name is Victor Amin, known name is Renhotep, and true name is a secret. Now, there is notably no clan analog in Mummy, and the closest thing is occupation, which is what the character's occupation was in their original mortal life. And let's go with, magician. Occupation provides suggested attribute categories and abilities to focus on, as well as a number of magic skill points, and have a cost in freebie points, which must be paid when we get to the freebie points. And this is a thing that on one hand is a little annoying, but on the other hand, I kinda like because it means that the occupations don't really need to be balanced, because the more powerful ones can cost more. And it is important to note that a character's occupation affects their social status among mummy kind, and that does seem to be factored into cost, but is never really outlined which occupations are higher or lower status. Like, obviously, a pharaoh has higher status than a beggar, but what about a magician and a priest, or a warrior and an architect? These are questions that are not answered. Next, we select a nature, the kind of person we are, and a demeanor, the way we act. Natures and demeanors are not included in the book, so we gotta go to the vampire book for those, and presumably function the same, with nature giving you a way to regain lost willpower, and demeanor just kinda being a role-playing guide. So let's go with conniver for our nature, and fanatic for our demeanor. Now, nature is very important to the theme of Mummy, as will be discussed later, is a thing that is written in the book, and then not really discussed later. Next, we choose our birth year, which can range from 3500 to 1 BC, and for some reason I really feel like going with 1525 BC. And finally, our apparent age, which is the age of the character's original death, and the physical age of their immortal body, which works very different than in Vampire, and I will explain later. And let's go with 56. I feel like a magician/spiritualist should be on the older side. And now we move on to step 2, attributes. Just like in Vampire and the other World of Darkness games, we have 3 physical, social, and mental attributes, which start at 1, and we must prioritize. So let's go mental, social, and physical, getting 7, 5, and 3 points respectively to add to each category. So let's start with mental and put 3 points in intelligence and 2 in perception and wits. Then social, and we'll put 3 points in manipulation and 2 in charisma. And finally physical, and we'll just put 1 dot in each. Then on to step 3, abilities. Once again, as in Vampire, etc., we have talents, skills, and knowledge, which we must prioritize, and Let's go talents, knowledge, and skills. But in this game, to reflect our thousands of years of experience, we get 20, 15, and 10 points to spend versus the normal 13, 9, and 5. We can choose from all of the options provided in the core Vampire book and Player's Guide, as well as a handful of new options in this book, but since this is just an example, let's stick with the core and the new stuff. Also, we are limited to a maximum number of dots equal to our intelligence score. That's why I put so many points in intelligence. So let's start with our talents and put 4 points in subterfuge and trick, and 3 in acting, empathy, intimidation, and streetwise. Then knowledge, and we'll put 4 points in occult and thanatology, 2 in investigation, law, and linguistics, which gives us 2 extra languages, and 1 in finance. And lastly, skills, and we'll put 4 in etiquette and 3 in security and stealth. Which brings us to step 4, advantages. First, we have 6 magic skills, which start at 0 dots, except necromancy, which starts at 1 dot, and we have the 6 points from our occupation to spend on magic skills, with no limit. So let's put 3 points in alchemy, 2 in necromancy, and 1 in figurines. Then we get 6 points to spend on backgrounds, with available options specified but not fully detailed, and let's put 3 points in allies, 1 in contacts, and 2 in supernatural, which is like allies but for supernatural creatures, which I'm going to say means that we are good friends with a wolfman. Next we have virtues, and as in Vampire we have conscience, self-control, and courage, but we also have honor, love, and truth, which all start at 1 dot, and we get 10 points to increase them. So let's put 4 dots in self-control, 3 in courage, and 1 in conscience, honor, and truth. And finally, on to step 5, last touches, which is where things get a little complicated. We start with willpower equal to our courage, base sechem equal to our occupational magic skill times 10, which is our life force energy that we use for casting spells, and I don't really know how to pronounce. Then our starting Ka score is 5, and our Ba score is 1d10. And I guess we've come to the point now where I have to explain this, which I am going to do in the most concise way possible. Things will be left out. Read the book yourself if you want the full information. It's a World of Darkness book. There is a lot of information. Mummies are created by a ritual that makes them immortal, in a way. Unlike vampires, who are immortal until they die, mummies just die and resurrect over and over again. So the ritual is cast, they die, are mummified, and then a little while later, they're like, hey, I'm back. And basically, the Ka and Ba are 2 parts of the character's soul, with a character's Ba score decreasing by 1 point every decade or so of immortal life, meaning that the starting value you roll gives you a general idea of how long your character has currently been alive. When a character's Ba reaches 0, or they just die through other means, the Ka and Ba separate from the body, with the Ka remaining to protect the body as a spooky ghost, and the Ba going to the spirit world where it must accumulate enough Ba points to resurrect and restore the body if necessary. So basically, instead of immortal until you're killed, it is just alive, then dead, then alive, then dead, and so on forever. So they are somewhat more truly immortal than vampires in that they die, but then they can always come back. It just takes more effort sometimes. And now, back to character creation. We get 30 freebie points, 15 of which is spent on our occupation, and then the rest we can spend on various things at various costs. So let's get an extra dot of manipulation and appearance for 5 points each, a dot in conscience for 2 points, 2 dots of willpower for 1 point each, and 3 sechem for 1 point. Then we can optionally select a specialty for each ability or attribute over 3 dots, and this character is almost done actually. We still need to buy spells. we basically get a number of points equal to 10 minus our boss score times our occupation's magic skill points, so 42, and spells cost a number of points equal to their difficulty value, and we can also only take spells of levels up to our rating in the relevant skill. So there's our spells, and I am now going to explain how magic works because it's kinda weird. Let's say that we want to cast Revisit Death, which allows us to touch a corpse and see the manner of its death. The spell has a difficulty of 6 and an effect level of 12, so we roll a number of dice equal to our dots in Necromancy against the spell's difficulty, and get 2 successes. Then we multiply the number of successes by the spell's difficulty, and if the result is greater than the effect level, the spell is successful, which it is not here. If the result is not greater, we can spend second points to increase it until it is greater. So by spending 1 second point, we push the result up to 13, which is now greater than the effect level, and successful. And it is worth noting that stronger spells do have much higher effect levels, so for example, Become Animal has a difficulty of 5 and an effect level of 45. So even with 5 successes, you still need to spend 21 seconds to cast the spell. And now this character is done. Overall, I gotta say I like the effort they put into giving them a form of immortality that makes mummies feel different from vampires. It gets a little complicated, but White Wolf never seems to shy away from making things thematically complicated, or mechanically complicated when magic is involved. But yeah, it does feel sufficiently different from Vampire the Masquerade, while still being just a sourcebook for Vampire the Masquerade. Also, I'm sure the handling of Egyptian culture and spiritualism, etc. isn't done incredibly well. I don't really have the expertise to say, but it's a pretty good guess considering it's a role-playing game from 1992. Now, the Mummy series did actually resurrect 3 more times, with a 2nd edition version in 1997, then Mummy the Resurrection in 2001, which is actually different enough from this one that I might cover it in the future, and then Mummy the Curse in 2013, but that's in the new world of darkness that nobody really seems to like. And thank you for watching, with extra special thanks to my Flail Snail level patrons, Samuel Gorski, Randy Maholland, and SC Woolridge. If you'd like to be cool like them, check out my Patreon, where you can get early access to videos, tabletop gaming content, and other fun stuff that I make for the Patreon. And if you don't want to, that's cool too. You can still hit all the lovely buttons, like, subscribe, these other videos, I'm sure they are great. And until next time, keep on rolling.